All right, good afternoon. Just some scheduling announcements. I'm briefing today. I will brief on Monday. And then unless there's breaking news, we will suspend briefings from Tuesday onwards until the first Monday of January, which is either the 4th or the 5th. But the office will be staffed, and we'll put things in the highlights. And of course, if there's breaking news, there will be briefings. I will start off with a statement on Yemen. The Secretary General strongly condemns the arbitrary detention on December 18th of a further 10 United Nations personnel by the Houthi de facto authorities, bringing the total number of detained UN staff to 69. These detentions render the delivery of humanitarian assistance in Houthi-controlled areas untenable. This directly affects millions of people in need and limits their access to life-saving assistance. The Secretary General calls for the immediate and unconditional release of all arbitrarily detained personnel from the United Nations, but also from non-governmental organizations, from civil society, and from diplomatic missions. Mr. Guterres calls on the Houthis to rescind the referral of UN personnel for prosecution. He further calls for the respect of international law, including the privileges and immunities of the United Nations and its personnel, which are essential to enabling humanitarian action in a secure and principled environment. The Secretary General and the UN will continue our sustained efforts with member states with the Security Council, as well as through direct engagement with the Houthis to secure the release of all detained UN colleagues. Mr. Guterres stands in solidarity with the affected families of those detained and the communities in Yemen. And turning to the situation in Kadugli, you will recall that a few days ago we paid tribute to 6 of our UN peacekeepers who were killed on Saturday in a drone attack in their camp in Kadugli in South Kordofan. They were part of UNISFA, the UN peacekeeping force for Abyei. Their remains today departed our UN logistical base in Entebbe for their home country, for Bangladesh. And I can now share their names and ages. The 6 were 37-year-old Corporal Mohammed Masood Rana, Private Mohammed Sabuj Mia, age 29, Private Mohammed Jahangir Alam, also age 29, Private Shanto Mondol, who was 26 years old, Private Shamin Reza, who was 28 years old, and Private Mohammed Mohimul Islam, who was 35 years old. We once again send our deepest condolences to their families, to their colleagues, and to the government of people and of Bangladesh. We also reiterate that attacks against UN peacekeepers are not only unacceptable, but they may constitute a war crime, and accountability in this case and all other cases must prevail. Meanwhile, we can also confirm that 8 of the 9 injured peacekeepers in Saturday's attack are receiving medical treatment at a hospital in Nairobi in Kenya, where they are recovering. 1 peacekeeper has been discharged from the mission's own medical facility in Abyei after receiving the needed treatment. And turning to South Sudan and another grim piece of news, I can tell you that we are deeply shocked and we condemn the killing of a staff member from the UN peacekeeping mission in South Sudan. Mr. Bol Rok Mayol Quote was detained by the security personnel from South Sudan on December 15th, and he had been in detention with them since December 15th. The mission was actively engaging with authorities to locate him and secure his safe release. We mourn his loss and extend our heartfelt condolences to his family, loved ones, and colleagues. The killing of a United Nations personnel is, of course, unacceptable, and we call for an immediate, thorough, and transparent investigation by the South Sudanese authorities to ensure that those responsible can be held to account. I've also been asked about the current situation in Bangladesh, and I can tell you that the Secretary General condemns the killing of a youth protest leader, Sharif Osman bin Hadi, and extends his condolences to his family. He calls for the authorities to conduct a prompt, an impartial, and a thorough and transparent investigation in line with international human rights standards. The Secretary General calls for calm and urges all concerned to refrain from violence, reduce tensions, and exercise maximum restraint in order to preserve a peaceful electoral environment as the country heads to elections in February. I think you heard from the Secretary General this morning on the situation in the occupied Palestinian territory, and he spoke about the latest report from the IPC on food security in Gaza. He was pleased to share that the famine has been pushed back in Gaza, with far more families able to access food, but he did point out that these gains remain very fragile. 1.6 million people in Gaza, that's more than 75% of the population, are still projected to face extreme levels of acute food insecurity and critical malnutrition. The brutal winter storms are worsening these numbers, with vital infrastructure from hospitals to bakeries to water sanitation services all struggling to operate. In the midst of this, we continue our work. We've prepared more than 1.5 million hot meals every day. We've supported bakeries, we've supported the rehabilitation of hospitals, and we vaccinated children, we've cleared rubble, and restored water lines, as well as providing tents, blankets, and clothing. But need is growing faster than aid can get in, and the Secretary General reiterates that the only lasting solution is a durable ceasefire. He drew attention on the International Criminal Court of Justice advisory opinion of December 22, 2025, which made clear that Israel is under the obligation to allow and facilitate humanitarian aid and cooperate with the United Nations in carrying out our mandates, and to respect the privileges and immunities of the United Nations and its personnel. He also reiterated his support for UNRWA, which plays an indispensable role in serving the Palestinian people in Gaza, the West Bank, and across the region. To give you a bit more details about that latest IPC report, the Secretary, about 1.6 million people are still expected to face high levels of acute food insecurity through mid-April of next year. That includes about 1,900 people in Gaza who would face catastrophic hunger. That's what we call IPC Phase 5, the highest level. More than 570,000 people who would face emergency levels. That is Phase 4. The report projects that through mid-October of next year, more than 100,000 children under 5, as well as 37,000 pregnant and breastfeeding women will need treatment for acute malnutrition. The IPC said that no child meets the minimum dietary diversity standards, and 2/3 of children are suffering from severe food poverty. The onset of winter and related diseases, combined with poor sanitation and hygiene conditions and limited access to safe and diverse foods, only increases vulnerability to malnutrition. Meanwhile, the UN Development Programme said today, since the onset of the ceasefire, it has collected the equivalent of 8,000 truckloads of rubble, mostly raw concrete. The debris is then removed, crushed, and reused, including to pave roads and build barriers to manage rain water. Turning to the situation in Ukraine, the Office of the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs says a new wave of attacks has severely disrupted critical services across the country, aggravating humanitarian needs amid harsh winter conditions. Between yesterday and early this morning, authorities reported several fatalities, with more than 30 injured nationwide. In the region of Odessa, a bridge and a railway station was struck. One woman was reportedly killed, while her 3 children and several other civilians were injured. Also in Odessa, attacks on energy infrastructure have left some 270,000 customers without water. Approximately 85,000 customers are without heating, while 75,000 have no electricity at all. According to Ukraine's energy ministry, energy facilities in 6 other regions were also damaged. Humanitarians deployed emergency teams to provide first aid to those affected by the recent attacks, and they continue to support people impacted by hostilities and the disruption of basic services across the country. As of October this year, humanitarian organizations, including the United Nations, reached 4.4 million people with assistance. Today, a humanitarian convoy delivered 7 metric tons of medicines, hygiene supplies, and other essentials to frontline communities in the region of Kherson. In 2025, we and our partners dispatched 29 humanitarian convoys to the region, reaching more than 30,000 residents. Turning to the Security Council this morning, Hannah Tete, our special representative for Libya, briefed council members and said that on the December 14th and 15th, the UN mission in Libya launched the inaugural meeting of the Structured Dialogue, which is part of the roadmap for Libya's political transition. This is the first process of this magnitude to be held on Libyan soil. She said participants to the dialogue showed a positive and constructive spirit. Mr. Tete told the Council that following the agreement on new solid security arrangements in Tripoli, the security environment in the capital has now stabilized to a certain extent. The truce continues to hold. She added, saying that the situation in Tripoli and western Libya remains fragile, with sporadic outbreaks of armed clashes in areas southern Tripoli and elsewhere. She said the path to Libya's election remains fraught with complications that are challenging but can be overcome. She calls on all Libyan leaders to respond to the demands of their people and rise above their differences in the interests of unity and integrity of the Libyan state and advance the welfare of the Libyan people. And yesterday, just want to flag for the record, our Deputy Special Representative for Western Africa and the Sahel, Barry Freeman, briefed the Council on the latest report of the Security Council, of the Secretary General on the activities of the UN Office for West Africa and the Sahel. She noted that the Sahel remains the global epicenter of violent extremism and underscored the continued expansion of terrorist groups across Central Sahel and the Lake Chad Basin. The erosion of democratic norms and standards in the region is also a concern, in particular reports of unlawful detention, reports of torture, and reports of enforced disappearances in some countries. On the recent developments in Guinea-Bissau, she called for council members to support ECOWAS's efforts to restore constitutional order and more broadly protect the region's democratic gains. She also noted that UNOWAS remains a trusted convener and facilitator supporting states across the region to promote peace, stability, and urged member states to support the ongoing efforts to operationalize the ECOWAS Regional Counterterrorism Force. Quick update from Burundi and the DRC. Our colleagues at the UN Refugee Agency said today they're deeply alarmed by the worsening humanitarian situation in Burundi. Over 84,000 human beings have crossed into Burundi from South Kivu since earlier this month. This has increased the total number of Congolese refugees and asylum seekers in Burundi to 200,000. Local resources, as you can imagine, have been overwhelmed. Transit centers and informal sites where new arrivals are hosted have far surpassed the capacity, and in some cases by nearly 200%, leaving hundreds of families in untenable conditions. Across the border, violence in South Kivu has forced more than 500,000 Congolese from their homes. Where access permits, the UN Refugee Agency and their partners continue to conduct protection, monitoring, and possible assistance, and provide assistance. UNHCR is seeking 47 million United States dollars for the next 4 months to assist 500,000 internally displaced people in the DRC and up to 166,000 refugees in Burundi, Rwanda, and other neighboring countries to which Congolese men, women, and children have sought refuge. And also in the DRC itself, I want to flag that on Sunday, our special envoy for the Great Lakes region, Huang Xia, has been invited to co-host an ad hoc summit of heads of states and government convened by the president of Uganda, Yoweri Museveni, in his capacity of chair of the Peace, Security, and Cooperation Framework of the DRC and the region. As you can imagine, leaders will discuss the current situation in the DRC, especially in the eastern part of the country. The special envoy hopes that the summit will provide an opportunity for the leaders of the region to take the additional steps to de-escalate the situation and find durable solutions to the conflict as a complement to the Washington and Doha processes. And an update from our peacekeepers in the Central African Republic. The mission there is supporting preparations for the general election, which, as you will recall, is scheduled for December 28th. This will be the first combined presidential, legislative, and local elections ever held in the country. The mission is providing logistical support for the deployment of sensitive material, including ballots, electoral rolls, and voter lists. Starting December 17th, the material will be dispatched from Bangui to prefecture capitals and hard-to-reach localities in the CAR. On the security front, the mission is supporting the election security mechanism led by the national authorities. To this end, peacekeepers continue to support the extension of state authority throughout the CAR. Beyond this, peacekeeping mission in coordination with UNDP is supporting the National Election Authority, including through the training of electoral staff. And this week, the head of the peacekeeping mission in the Central African Republic, Valentin Rugwabiza, said the elections represent a unique opportunity to consolidate constitutional stability and effectively decentralize state authority. Lastly, you will have seen that yesterday the Secretary General warmly welcomed the actions by the General Assembly to elect Barham Ahmed Salih of Iraq as the next High Commissioner for Refugees. He, of course, succeeds Filippo Grandi of Italy, to whom the Secretary General is grateful for his leadership and for his tireless efforts to protect refugees, displaced persons, and stateless people. Mr. Salih, as you will recall, served as president of Iraq from 2018 to 2022, and he brings to the job senior diplomatic, political, and administrative leadership experience. He served twice as prime minister of the Kurdistan Regional Government and as deputy prime minister of Iraq. More additional info on the bio, and a few international days to celebrate with you. Tomorrow is International Human Solidarity Day, a moment to remember that our shared future grows stronger when we act together, guided by solidarity at the core of the UN's mission. On Sunday, close your eyes for a few minutes because it is World Meditation Day. With many forms to choose from, meditation reduces stress, improves focus, and supports overall health. Something we should all do. We could start the briefing by a moment of meditation. Maybe that's a good idea. And there is another international day, and a little quiz for you. What game was invented in 1891 at a YMCA in the United States? It involved, to play this game, they used baskets, peach baskets. Exactly. It is World Basketball Day. Officially recognized by the UN in 2023, celebrated every year on December 21st. So people will link the name Dujarric to that of Jordan, Magic, Kareem, Bird, Kobe, and LeBron for World Basketball Day. Edie Lederer.
Thank you, Steph. A couple of follow-ups. First, on Yemen, were the 10 latest detainees all national staff?
Yes,
from Yemen?
all national staff.
All men?
I will check. It's my understanding. I will check, but that's my understanding.
Okay, and on South Sudan, on the killing of a staff member from South Sudan, was the staff member a national or international?
He was a national staff. He was an interpreter for us. He was removed from what I understand, from a UN vehicle on December 15th by local security forces, and he died in custody. And that's what the local authorities told our colleagues. Obviously, we want an investigation. To say that it's unacceptable is obvious, and I expect a direct statement from the SG later this afternoon.
Has his body been returned to his family?
Not that I'm aware of.
So there's no indication of whether he was
we're
stabbed or shot or anything?
We're trying to find the bodies. I would say at this point the security leadership in WOW South Sudanese is cooperating with us, and we're trying to find the body. Deji.
Also follow up on Yemen. In the statement, you said that the detention rendered the delivery of the humanitarian assistance in Houthi-controlled area untenable. What is now the operation of the UN inside Houthi-controlled area in Yemen? Has this operation been suspended?
Things are being reorganized. Our footprint is much more limited. As you can imagine, how can we work in an area where the de facto authorities are detaining our own people, right? And we can't put them at risk.
Will you suspend the operation there?
I think things are being looked at on a regular basis, and operations are being reorganized, but it is an untenable situation for us.
For a bigger picture, within a week, we have 6 Bangladesh peacekeepers died in Sudan, 1 interpreter died in South Sudan, and 10 nationals detained in Yemen. How does the Secretary General worried about the trend that the UN operation is no more respectable? I mean, by
it's a
big
very
countries?
worrying trend, and we've seen these cases that you just highlighted recently. We can sadly go back very far in UN history to see UN personnel killed. We see all too often that the UN flag, the UN emblem, no longer offers the protection that it should to our colleagues. We have more than 300 of our colleagues who were killed in Gaza, right? We've seen, the horrific death toll of peacekeepers in Mali when our peacekeeping mission was there. UN personnel, whether they are humanitarian, whether they are peacekeepers, whether they're political envoys, are there for peace. They are there for the people. They need to be respected. Yes, Pan.
Thank you, Steph. A follow-up on Yemen. Has the Houthis given any reason why they detained UN personnel yesterday?
We've seen the reasons they've said publicly. There is no excuse for arbitrary detention. Yes, so go ahead, Pan.
Yes, so has the United Nations contacted the Houthis for their release?
Yes, we are, as I said, we are in contact. We have a point person who is in contact with the Houthis. We are also in contact with other member states, to try to help and get our colleagues released, as well as those who worked for NGOs, who worked for diplomatic missions, and all those who are arbitrarily detained. Namo.
Thank you, Stéphane. So on the election of Barham Saleh by the General Assembly, what exactly prompted the Secretary General to nominate him? And what qualities may the Secretary General believe make him the right person at this time when the organization's funding has significantly declined?
There were a lot of outstanding candidates for that post, and I think it's a testament to the importance that UNHCR carries in the world, that so many great people wanted to have this job. I think Mr. Saleh's taking over UNHCR is historic, is in the sense he is the first person from a non-donor country, right, from a developing country, to have that post. And I think he brings a wealth of personal experience, himself having been banished from and having to flee his own country, and also having been president of a country that has hosted generously refugees, president of a country that from which people had to flee, who were refugees in other countries. So I think he brings a very unique experience. Ms. Fasulo, and then we'll go.
Thank you, Steph. Apropos of Yemen.
Your microphone a little closer. Thank you.
Apropos of Yemen and other places, having UN staff detained and mission staff and all kinds of NGOs gives the impression that the UN is sort of helpless in this world, so to speak. Symbolically, it's just. And is there anything more that the UN should be doing? Security Council?
I guess that my question to you, Linda, is which UN are you talking about, right? The Secretary General doesn't have the authority to get a group of special forces to get his people out, right?
Would he want them?
We of course he wants. We want our people out. We're able to work, and we should be able to work in the most dangerous places because the flag offers protection, but also because member states should help us, right? Should help protect the work of the UN. We're working on behalf of member states. We're fulfilling mandates given to us by the General Assembly, by the Security Council. So it does feel a bit lonely sometimes, right? I mean, the Secretary General had very good meetings with the Sultan of Oman, with the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, where he raised these issues, and we very much appreciate their assistance. He's spoken about Yemen quite often with the Foreign Minister of Iran as well. But at the end of the day, the Houthis need to release these people who are there to help their own people, right? And that's why I keep saying the situation is untenable for us.
Well, should the General Assembly and Security Council be more vocal?
I think
more
every member
often
state
and-
should be more
and
vocal. Every member state should be more vocal.
Right.
Because the lack of protection of UN personnel impacts all member states. Monsieur, and then Gabriel. Oh, so I'm sorry. No, you were next. Go ahead, please.
Thank you. First of all, welcome back. We're happy to see you again. We have 2 questions. We would like to follow up on some updates we got yesterday from WFP. There are still many videos coming from Gaza about flooding and children's exposure to cold. So the first question is a little bit broad. How do conditions like this affect the United Nations SDG progress? And how the UN factors these setbacks into long-term planning?
I mean, for Gaza, let's talk. None of what is happening is good for the SDG indicators in Gaza, right? On health, on education, on human rights, on all 17 goals. And that's why I think the Secretary General's message was clear today. We were, it was, I don't want to say it was good news in the sense that there is no famine, but it is still horrific news in the sense that hunger prevails for almost 75% of the population. And that's why he's pushing all parties concerned to get more aid in and restore hope for the Palestinian people and for the Israeli people as well.
Can I add a question, please?
You may.
Thank you. So there are videos coming showing fathers saying that they are spending the night with their children standing. And there are other videos showing children with wet clothes. They don't have any other clothes to change. The tents are not solid to withstand the floods. So are there any plans to move toward more solid shelter, like mobile housing, and provide more winter items, like basic stuff, socks,
Yeah, I mean,
hoodies?
this is exactly what we've been trying to do, is to get, and we've been saying how much we've been getting in winter clothes. We are not able to bring enough tents as we need. We're not able to bring enough shelter as we need. We will, of course, we would like to move as soon as possible to rebuilding, right, and to bring a little bit more solid housing, but that's not something we're able to do at this point.
Could you please tell us what's the barrier?
Barrier is not enough aid being allowed in by the Israeli authorities.
Thank you.
Okay. Monsieur.
Merci. Back to Yemen. In your discussions with the Houthis, do you feel that the reason for them to detain these people, is it to squeeze the UN out of the country, or do they have some specific accusations against these persons?
They have made. There are public accusations that have been made, and I think you've seen them. We've seen them. I am not. I mean, I can't speak to their state of mind. I mean, and I can't speak to for any party which we're involved in discussions with. So I think those are questions you need to ask them, what their end game is.
Another topic?
You may. Everybody's so polite today.
Oh, thank you, as usual.
Yeah. Sorry, of course. Yeah.
Tensions have flared up between Cambodia and Thailand these last days. Did the Secretary General offer his good offices to the two parties, and are there any contacts with their missions here at the UN?
There are likely to have contacts at the missions here, but we are the Secretary General's good offices, are always available should both parties request them for any conflict. For us, there is. It is about not recreating a different framework. There's a framework that was signed by the parties, by Cambodia and by Thailand in Malaysia, on the sidelines of the ASEAN summit, if I'm not mistaken. Of course, with the great effort from the United States, and what was agreed to should be respected. Gabriel.
Thanks, Steph. On the issue of temporary shelter in Gaza, the UN has been calling for many weeks now for Israel to allow more shelter material to get in, particularly with the recent cold weather and flooding in Gaza. In the past week, has Israel allowed any more noticeable levels of temporary shelter into Gaza?
I don't have the hard data for that. You should check the 2701 website, if that has the latest. And I stand corrected on, I stand corrected on one thing, and I want to bring more details on another that Edie asked. All the 10 detainees in Yemen are male, and we have recovered the body of our colleague in South Sudan, and it's resolutions 2720. There we go.
And just to finish up on that, what did the body show?
I don't have that information yet, but what the facts are is that our colleague lost his life in detention. Any question online? Okay. Gabriel, do you want to finish up, and then we'll go to Deji, and then maybe we'll have lunch.
Thanks, Steph. Just a quick follow-up on Yemen, too, actually. I just want to be clear on the untenable language that you guys are using, and a follow-up on Deji's question. Are you saying that a scale down of humanitarian aid is on the table or not?
Look, we've had to adjust our footprint, right? It is untenable means like at some point something is going to break, right? We cannot go on delivering humanitarian aid at the scale that it's needed if our staff is harassed and is detained. I mean, I think you know very well that the UN staff in Yemen, the vast majority of them are nationals, are putting themselves at risk for the good of their own brothers and sisters in Yemen. We have a responsibility, and the Secretary General has a responsibility for the safety of the staff, but also a responsibility to have aid delivered where it's needed. And every day we have to find that equilibrium, whether it's in Yemen, whether it's in South Sudan, whether it's in Darfur or in Kordofan, or whether it's in Gaza. And adjustments need to be made. Deji.
Very quick question. It's almost the end of the year. Has the investigation case of the President Trump escalator closed? Is there any new update?
We have given the results of everything we've discovered to the U.S. Mission a long time ago, and I stand by everything that I said. I stand by everything that I said at the time. Better be good.
I guess. I hope. As it is the end of the year, do you have any date for the Secretary General's end of year encounter?
No, it will be at the beginning of year.
Okay.
Press encounter, probably around January 20th or so, 2022, around there. But we will not keep it a secret. All right. Have a great weekend. We'll see you Monday.